Hello and welcome to tutorial 3. By the end of this video, you will have learned how to create your own formula command and create your own VBA command. Let's get into it.
Hello, this is Fay Boardbar.
And I'm Erik Ohm.
And today Erik's going to teach me how to create my first robot commands. And I'm nervous, so let's dive right in.
You can do this, Fay. I have faith in you.
Okay, so I'm sharing my screen. Now, where do I start to create my first robot command?
All right. So last time we talked about the different kinds of robot commands, and there's formula commands and there's VBA commands. There's lots of other types of commands, but today your first command is going to be a formula command. And you've been doing the esports stuff, right?
Yeah, just about.
All right. Well, I'm going to put you on the spot because the formula that we're going to turn into a robot command is taking some text and splitting it into a list of characters, the list of characters. So go ahead and just type whatever you want into a cell.
Hello, we are learning today about OA robot. Let me just zoom in a little bit.
That's awesome. So do you remember how to turn that into each individual letter spilling down as an array?
I think so. So we start with mid, we look at the text and we run a sequence of the length of that text. And it's going to be split by one character at a time.
Damn, I'm impressed. So this is something that we do all of the time in esports, is splitting things into characters. But that's actually a lot of typing, right?
Yeah.
And sometimes you forget it. How do you do that? That mid sequence thing? Like, you got it. I was very impressed with that. But that's like brain power that in competition you don't want to spend. You just want to boom, 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 get things done. And this applies to everything that you do in your job as well. So what we're going to do is we are going to turn that formula into a robot command. The easiest way to do that is basically by example. So we created a formula that's like demonstrating what it is that we want to do. So next you're going to do Control-Shift-O to bring up the command palette. And you're going to type plus. So plus, you can also, if you prefer to be a mouse user, you can click on the plus button off to the left. It does the same thing as typing plus. And then you can see there's different things that you can add there. So we're going to add a command, which is the second one.
Yep.
And then this gives you the different command types that you can add. So with the standard license, you can add formula commands. If you upgrade to the pro license, which is $100 per year, then you get 5 more different command types, including VBA commands. So let's create a formula command.
I'm going to click on that top one.
Yep. And we get this dialog. Now, OA Robot has a huge amount of power and all kinds of really cool stuff that you can do with it. So don't be intimidated by all of the properties. There's very few properties that you actually have to worry about on this dialog. So we're going to give it a name. Let's call it list characters. In command names, you want them to have spaces in them. So it's kind of like a nice friendly name. And then for the description, you can, it gave you something automatically. You can just leave that in there. So in the formula, you can kind of see what it did there. It took the formula that you gave, and then the cell references that it was looking up to cell B2, it replaced with what's called an application expression that says, grab the formula of the active cell and put that in there. So if you go ahead and click OK, you have just created your first formula command called list characters. So now if we wanted to try that, let's just point, do equals B2.
I can say, here's some more text.
I would do it, yeah. So then refer to that cell.
Oh, so equals this cell, right?
Yep. And then select that, and then you can run that command, and it'll wrap that formula with the formula that you just created. So it comes up at top because it's the last one you created. So you can just hit enter in order to run it. But if you're trying to find it, you might type LC for list characters or whatever.
That's
so it
pretty
just
cool.
Yeah. Now, Dearmid, if Dearmid was listening right now, he would say, you should be using regex. You should be using regex because regex is the better way now to split characters because it'll take advantage of there's some emojis and things that are actually 2 characters wide, and this approach doesn't work anymore. But we don't need to get into that right now. So yay. Congratulations, you created your first formula command.
Thank you. And will that forever be saved in my OA robot?
So, that's an excellent question. So look down below and you can see that was created in book 1.
Which is the name of this.
The way robot commands work is they're very similar to like VBA and lambdas and power queries. They're stored in your workbook and they're not saved unless you save that file. Okay. So if you save this file into your OA robot folder, then that will be a command collection that has that command will be available. Typically, what you want to do is build your own collections. So if you have like a Lambda library, or you kind of create files and put all of your commands together in the same file, so you don't want like one file per command. You want to have like collections of them. So we call those command collections.
Okay, cool. I've saved this in that location. So now
if you go to a totally separate workbook, like if you do Control N and create a new workbook and test that out again, you'll see that that's still available.
Clever. Very clever.
And there's other features, there's other properties. Once we'll cover some of these in future tutorials, but there's something called user context filtering, where you can say this command only makes sense to be run on an array, or this command only makes sense to be run on text. Or whatever. That way you don't get the option of running a command in a scenario when it doesn't make sense to run it. Like it doesn't make sense to run list characters on a blank cell. So ideally it wouldn't even show up in the list in a blank cell. So that's how that works. All right. Are you ready to upscale into creating your first VBA command?
Yes, let's do it.
All right. So what we're going to do is if you're not a VBA person, AI writes VBA so easily now. Anybody can create VBA commands. But what we're going to do is we're going to first do Alt F11, which brings you into the VBA editor.
Let me just bring that over. Another way of getting to it is from Developer and Visual Basic.
That'll do it as well. And then where is your... Go to View and show your Project Explorer. Usually that's visible. Okay, there we go. And then we're going to do Insert Module. So that's putting a macro document into your book 1. Sure. And now let's add a little macro like sub say hello. And then hit enter, and let's do a message box like hello world. There you go. Nice. And then leave your cursor inside of that macro, and I'll show you why. Now, if you go back to book 1 and do your Control-Shift-O plus plus, that gets you to where your list of commands that you can add is.
Yeah.
And then see VBA macro there, you
Yeah.
run that one, hit enter. So,
oh, wow, it pulled it.
Yeah, so it saw that your cursor was inside of that macro, and it automatically filled out everything you need to fill out. So it named it say hello. It used the name of your macro and split it apart, and then it hooked it up to your module 1.say hello. So all you have to do is click OK, and then you have that command.
Nice.
The VBA commands are super easy. And then go ahead and hit enter on that, and boom.
There we go.
So now you have a robot command. And VBA commands work in any workbook. You don't have to run it in the workbook that has the macro, which is really nice. That's why when I was showing you earlier of applying formatting or whatnot, I didn't have that macro in that workbook. That was in a collection. And OA Robot opens up the macro file as needed. So you don't have to have all of these macros open in Excel. You can open Excel with no macros at all. And when you run that command, it'll say, oh, you want to run the say hello command. I guess I better go open book 1 because that's where it is. It remembers that and does that automatically. So that's the curating part of curating micro automations, is you don't want to have to remember what file is my say hello macro in, and where do I go find that, and what did I call the macro, and all of that stuff. You just bring up OA Robot, type the fewest possible characters to hypersearch it, hit enter, and boom, it's run. Nice. So that's the beauty of commands. There's one thing I want to make sure that we tell people, and that is if you can go to File and go to Options, and then in the Trust Center, go into Trust Center Settings and Macro Settings. So you have that checked there, the Trust Access to VBA Object Model. That's not checked by default. In order for it to detect and auto fill out the VBA command property dialog, you have to have that checked. That's how it kind of detects where your cursor is in the macro and fills everything out for you. Okay. So that's just one step to keep in mind.
Cool. Thanks,
so that was
Erik.
it. You created a formula command, and you created a VBA command.
Nice. I'm excited
on your way.
I'm excited for what's coming next in tutorial 4. Thank you
Soon
very
you'll
much.
be like me, and you'll have 500 commands in your command palette.
All right. See you next time.
Great. Thanks.